Welch is here with
All right, this is cause number 24, DCCR 0122,
previously in court.
State of Texas versus Catherine Welch. Ma'am, are you Catherine Welch? And Ms. Welch is here with her attorney, Mr. Gertz. State's attorney is present. Ms. Welch was previously in court, which made it a second-degree felony offense, entered a plea of guilty with regard to punishment. To the pre-sentence driving while intoxicated, third or more, as well as a prior offense, which made it a second-degree felony offense. There was no agreement with regard to punishment. I have received the pre-sentence report, and has everyone had an opportunity to review that report? I'm going to get to that too in just a second. Are there any additions or corrections to that report?
One comment that I make in the sentencing memorandum, a comment that she made about rehabilitation. I think it's more of a clarification, so I'm happy to touch on that.
I'm going to get to that too in just a second. Any additions or corrections?
Aside from the one comment
Ms.
that I make in
Malfino
the
has already
sentencing
stated,
memorandum
as
about
well
a comment that
as
she
I
made
have
about
received the sentencing
rehabilitation. I think it's more of a clarification, so I'm happy to touch on that, but other than that,
yesterday.
we don't have any additions.
I'm going to point that out for the record. And Ms. Malfino has already stated, as well as I received the sentencing memorandum this morning, but I did review it. Ms. Malfino, yesterday, had time to review it as well. I'm going to point that out for the record.
The Harris County judge got her sentencing memorandum.
Other than that, I think you all it was reviewed quite early this morning, but I did review it. Ms. Malfino, you've had time to review it as well. Reports that should have been provided to counsel. Did you both receive those as well? Other than that, I think you all should have a couple. There's only a few, but there were some jail incident reports that should have been provided to counsel. Did you both receive those as well? Okay, is everyone ready to proceed with sentencing then?
Yes, Judge Wire, about that.
All right, Mr. Gertz, do you have witnesses?
I'm not going to call them live witnesses unless the court requires it. I think I have a person present here in the Dream Center that will want to inquire about that. I would essentially let sentencing come up and talk if you want to have that conversation. But if the court decides to do what our focus here is going to be on the topics that we talk about or write about in the sentencing successfully complete. We just wanted you to have that option, just sort of allowing if the court decides to do what we're asking you to do. We are open and welcome to whatever the court.
And for the record, I'm aware of the Dream Center and their program and what they do. And so if I have any specific questions, if we get to something where I would need that, then I appreciate them being here and I'll ask. And for the record, I'm aware of the Dream Center and their program and what they do. And so if I have any specific questions, if we get to something where I would need that, then I appreciate them being here and I'll ask those questions. Ms. Malfino, does the state have any witnesses? All right, then argument.
Judge, I want to recognize this is a unique case and a unique ask. 3+ years. This is not something small, but 4 years. I have a project for me, if that makes any sense. Personally, what I mean by that is Catherine on. I've always wanted to put 3+ years. Could this person do everything I asked her to do to at least get as a project for me, if that makes any sense? What I mean by that is I really wanted to put to the test. Could this person do everything that I asked her to do to at least get her an opportunity to be here in front of you? While she was there, what we're asking for, she she exceeded my expectations there by doing the 90-day inpatient rehabilitation. It went beyond just physical addiction. And while she was there, mental health and she things that she started to explore with her counselors and her therapists there what those things are. Some of the underlying issues that went beyond just physical addiction, but actually had to repress her mental health and some of the things that she's experienced in her life. So I'm not going to detail them on the record, but the court is aware of what those things are. Incredibly traumatic events, outpatient program. I think she had repressed trauma had never she's had really addressed. She went forward to that program. Those counselors recommended not just aftercare, but a specific did everything outpatient program to address some of the trauma issues that she's had. I told her to go. She went and checked into that program, stayed for basically a year. Those should be attached. And again, did everything we asked her to do. Successful, has following the rules. You know, I told her to go get her own drug patch. I told her to go get her AA. Had got actually regional lock device. She did all of that. Those records should be attached to the memo. She was successful. Has been following the rules, doing everything we've asked her to do. Had been going to AA. Had gotten a counselor. Actually reached out. She's befriended the director of the Dream Center to try to figure out what she can do next. A young person to sort of commit herself to her sobriety and to fixing the mental health issues. Sometimes it's easy to from one side of the ledger challenges that she faced as a young person. Criminal history, I think that defines this person. What I have been working on. Sometimes it's easy to look at one side of the ledger, the rap sheet or the criminal history and think that defines this person. She's made. What I have been fortunate enough to do is to really dig down and get to understand the problems that she has as a human. She's obviously very anxious. See that all the progress she's made, all the efforts she's made, and see what she's done well, and all the problems that she's been addressing well. And she's obviously very anxious about this day, but we've been looking forward to this day as well. Yes, to be able to present that. I'm not saying this wasn't the words that came out of her mouth, but and I want to go down and ask on the bottom of page 2, address what I was talking about in the CSI. So she felt she needed treatment. She's saying that this wasn't the words that came out of her mouth, wasn't opposed either. When she was asked by one of the examiners in the probation, what she would say, I think, is she felt she needed treatment. She said she didn't feel like she needed treatment. She wasn't opposed either. I want to clarify what we mean by that. I say this here, but in what she would say, I think, is specifically she did 90 days of detox, rehab, and related treatment. Intoxicant has continued, aftercare has continued, mental health care wasn't the direction that, but in terms of going to a program that is specifically targeted at people who are currently using or currently intoxicated, I think she thought that was probably wasn't the direction that will just be ideal. She will do whatever you want her to do, but I wanted to explain what that comment means. And so they just want to set you. Because a lot of times, as you know, Judge, it's just a misunderstanding of rehabilitation programs will just reject you if you're clean for Catherine 3+ years, as she has. And so they just won't even accept you at all. So I think that was just a misunderstanding or miscommunication between the probation officer and we've been in contact, Catherine, but with her current, nonetheless, officer, she's willing to do whatever the court he chooses here and stuff. Additionally, we've been in contact with her current parole officer. They are willing to. They had the same parole conversations instead of revoking her and about her efforts, depending on what the court was here, signed and then so that was encouraging as well. I think we want to focus too much. Had the same kinds of conversations with them about her recovery and about her efforts case, and so I think that was encouraging. But signed, she is married. She has, and then finally, Judge, you see, we didn't want to focus too much on support from the community because again, this isn't just a run-of-the-mill case. This is a different focus, but. She is married, she has a family, she has recognizes the impact that all of this has had on her family and her relationships and the strain it has worked on her husband to both financially this extremely rare position. Emotionally asking the court to take. She accepts responsibility for that and is asking the court to consider this extremely rare position that we're asking the court to take here.
Thank you.
Obviously, if the court would like her to address the court, she is happy to do that. I'm not sure how you can proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Comments of Mr. Burns.
Ms. Malfino.
All of those things are true.
Judge, I don't envy the position that the court is in.
For me, as a representative,
We take very seriously the comments of Mr. Burns. I take him at his word, and I hope that all those things are true.
Probation, but I don't.
It's difficult for me as a representative of Jefferson County and the state and the citizens that play that on the roads every day to stand up and say I agree with probation, but I don't receive the benefit of disagree already by Mr. Burns has said and the information that she's given us based on to play the other side of the coin, does it in good conscience that I can suggest that she received the benefit of the doubt already by me waiving the habitual status that she could have been facing based on her number of priors? Does it seem penitentiary in good conscience that I can say, no change in behavior, ignore all of those priors? Absolutely not. But in these last 3 years, obviously, we have seen that her multiple trips to the penitentiary have resulted in no change in behavior until hopefully in these last 3 years. And District Attorney, I do say that I sympathize with Ms. Welch as an individual, but I don't, again, it's hard for me as a common District Attorney or Assistant District Attorney to say that I concur with the punishment diligently being probation, but I don't, again, that's why it's disagree with before you, the comments that Mr. Gertz has. We've had multiple conversations about this case. I know he's worked very diligently at it. I don't really know, Judge, and that's why it's before you, that the better off putting her in prison for 20 years and her getting out in I don't know what versus an extensive probation period where she could continue the recovery she's been doing is a better option, but again, I know it's appropriate based on the volume of information. I don't know what is in the best interest of public safety. Unfortunately, none of us do, so.
Anything else?
I would defer to the court's wisdom and whatever you think is appropriate based on the volume of information.
Your Honor, I just want to say that.
All right, thank you.
The past,
Anything else?
was fueled by drugs and alcohol. I take complete responsibility for that. Your Honor, I just want to say that, I did not know, from very young, drugs and alcohol happened in my life, that I take complete responsibility for that. It could have been I did not know earlier if I had very young when things happened in my life that after I received the CWI, it could have been, some of it could have been treated and stopped earlier if I had gotten help for my mental health to go into a treatment program after I received the CWI, some of those past traumas. In the past, I didn't help me get myself and to a place that I could go into a treatment program, just numb myself and deal with some of those past traumas. And in the past, I medicated and drank to just forget about the pain, just numb myself out. I didn't know how else to deal with that. And when I got on my mental health meds, and I was able to go through bipolar treatment at PTSD and place. My mind back then was very chaotic. And I just want to say, after I had my mental health meds, I was able to go through treatment at Santa Maria in Houston trauma, and that place community there really saved my life. And I did extensive 20-day treatment outpatient with trauma counselors doing their trauma and formed to community there, recovery program. And also when I completed that, I worked in an outpatient program, but I still lived on their facility. I went to the sex trafficking and recovery program, and I was in that for about 8 months. I got a job while I was there where I got, and then once the state paid for the counseling for trauma still and in Oxford House. I just worked really hard in that. I got a job while I was in there. I felt and then once that program was over, I moved to a sober living facility in Oxford House in spring, and I worked there program. And so I felt like I was strong enough to come home and do what I needed to do. And I was in my past the complete program for Brad here, like Brian said. And I'm sorry, I'm very nervous today, and I know that my past record I had to deal with within myself from when I was a little girl, like Brian said, atrocious. Those are things that you don't go to prison, but even in their programs there that you don't talk. It's just the things that I had to deal with within myself from when I was a little girl. Can you please do not? Those are things that you don't go to prison, even in their programs there that you don't talk about. It's just before, you just don't. And I've been in jail, asking you please do not send me, has given me back to prison more time, I want to move forward. I have moved forward in my life, and this year that I've been in jail, the right direction, has given me, more time to think and know on with my life as far that I definitely headed in the right direction. I mean, I knew the start was out there at AA. I think at home, I had choices with my moved on with my life as far as I could with my sobriety. I mean, I knew the start was out there, open. And I think I made some really good choices with my Mid-County AA friends. They've helped me a lot, and I am do anything that to. And I think, I know now that I will abide by all the rules. Capable and do anything that's asked of me. And I think, I know now that I'm responsible and capable of taking care of my business
Ms. Welch,
and my life.
Ms. Malfino probably said it yet best, and I get this often, and they don't envy my position. And Ms. Welch, the worst part of my job. Ms. Malfino probably said it yet best. My job. I get this often. Part of my job. It's several things. Envy my position, and this is the worst part of my job. Defendants and given chances. I worked hard to get here, and it's my job. So is part of my job. It's several things, and it's to look at. Obviously defendants and given chances and things like that. But it also is about making our community safe. And I have to look back. This is your 10th. The trauma that you went DWI. It's not your 5th. You've been to safe. It's not your 8th. It's the 10th. You've been given opportunities on probation where they were while I understand the trauma that you went through, you do what you've been to safe P3 times. And while I appreciate you've been given opportunities on probation where they were revoked. My goal isn't to. You've had opportunities while you were on parole improvement to do what you have done now. I can't. And while I appreciate what you've done, and I think that's great, and I go home tonight. My goal isn't to mirror and say I gave to stop any improvement, but I don't. I can't. In my opinion, sentence was for 15 in good faith. Go home tonight, look myself in the mirror, and say I gave somebody on their 10th. The one before that, you've gone to. Another DWI. 10 year, your last sentence was for 15 years in prison. You got the one before that was for 10. The one before that, you've gone to one. You get another 10 years back in 09. I mean, this goes back to the 90s. You got a 10-year sentence in 2011. In our community. While you're on parole for that one, you get another one, so they give you 15 years. Opportunities. And you get out and you're on parole and you do it again. The fact is, we're just lucky that you haven't killed someone in our community. I'm going 9 times over. And your plea of truth. Being given opportunities. I just can't do it. I'm going to find sufficient evidence to find you guilty. I'm going to find that you entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily. I'm going to find 18 and your plea of truth to the prior offense. I'm going to find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of driving while intoxicated. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 18 years in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Corrections. Well, I guess you will receive credit on that sentence because for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive, you're going to be handed a trial court certification that shows this was not an agreement. Well, I guess there was an agreement because the waiver of the enhancement, which could have been a 25 to life, as Mr. Gertz said. So I'm going to hand you the certification that shows this was an agreement. You waived your right to appeal. I'm also handing you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession, because of the judgment entered against you, you're ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to charges against you. You should read the written admonishment I provide you. To some extent, if you have any questions about that, you can talk to Mr. Gertz. And Ms. Welch, I take no pleasure in this. This is extremely difficult for me. There have been plenty of opportunities. I understand to some extent addiction. And so I understand that you are on a better path. However, there have been plenty of opportunities in the past where you were on a better path and you got back out and you got back on our roads again. And so, good luck to you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Gertz and Ms. Malfino. Court will be adjourned.